Want to shop Walmart Black Friday deals first? Walmart Plus members get early access to our hottest deals. Join now and get 50% off a 1-year annual membership. Shop Black Friday deals first with Walmart Plus. See terms at walmartplus.com.
Move your career further, faster in just 2 days with a Harvard Professional and Executive Development Program. Advance your leadership skills, craft smarter business strategies, build your network, and transform how you work and think to keep your career moving forward. You'll earn a certificate and can add Harvard to your resume with Harvard Professional and Executive Development. Learn more at professional.dce.harvard.edu/Spotify.
This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first, like you know to check the date of the big game first before you accidentally buy tickets on your 20th wedding anniversary and have to spend the next 20 years of your marriage making up for it. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
Welcome to Book Talk for Book Talk with Jack and Amy, a literary podcast where we deep dive into the writings of your favorite novels. We've just wrapped up our analysis of Sarah J. Maas's A House of Sky and Breath, and we're going to be jumping into our winter book club next week. This is Jack.
And I'm Amy, and this is part 1 of this week's episode where we discuss listener thoughts on A House of Sky and Breath. Love it.
I'm so happy that we're done. I'm so happy that we're here. I'm happy that we're done in the sense that like this was a beast of a book.
Yeah, and you know, technically it was only 2 pages longer than Earth and Blood. Nevertheless,
it feels so much longer.
I think the last 4 weeks were a little bit of a drag for us. I think there were some good moments and some really teeth gritting moments, for lack of a better word.
I think it was like the last, like, there was like 3 episodes that was just like consistently us being annoyed at the same things.
Yeah.
And then the last episode was like, fuck, damn it.
Okay, fine, you win. You win, Sarah.
You did a good job again, Sarah. Are you happy? You happy that you're good at what you do? Because I am. I am happy that you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at this point of recording, the world knows that after Winter Book Club, we are doing Throne of Glass.
Does the world know?
Yeah, because we announced it at the end of last week's episode. Comes out at the end of episode 15.
Oh,
we tell everyone.
I'm sorry. We are currently recording listener thoughts, but my brain is physically in the
present.
October 29th. So I'm like, what are you talking about? Did I mess up my schedule?
No. We're physically on October 29th, but in the future, we're in November.
Our voices are in November.
Oh, let's see. Oh, and we have a live stream. So if we, read any comments, that's what we're doing. If you want to be a participant of a future live stream of live episodes and live recordings, please join us on Patreon. And right now, Alexa says, I just caught up today and I'm fired up right alongside you guys. Yay.
Yeah. I mean, because today was episode 14. Is that right?
Yeah. Today was episode 14 that came out on October 29th. And I just keep thinking of the fact that, like, we're going to do Throne of Glass and it's half the length. It's half the size of this book.
I know. And still somehow we're going to do 10 episodes instead of 8.
It's fine, sweetie. We'll
The people who love Throne of Glass will appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I almost said Throne of Grass. Like, that's where my brain is at right now.
We are recording this at night after a full day of work.
Yep.
And
I got up early to write this morning.
You did a great job. I'm proud
I did. And then I did another 600 words on the train on my way
home. Hell yeah.
Proud
of you. Nice. I finished most of the outline of my book, so I'm excited.
Oh, yay. That's exciting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm ahead of schedule, which is great because I forgot that I'm gone all day tomorrow at a hockey game.
Oh.
Anyway, we have some listener thoughts. We asked our Instagram listeners. They are listeners, but we asked our Instagram people, and then we also, we're going to read some of the thoughts that you've submitted to our website. So I will start. Is that okay?
Yes, of course.
I never know whether I can read people's names or not, like if I'm allowed to. So let's pretend I'm just going to read a little, like 3 letters. DAP.
Can you spell it?
DAM.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't want to give it away. Anyway, they say this series needed to be longer, at least 5 books, or Crescent City 1 should have been a standalone.
I 100% agree. I know that like hot takes are out of style right now, but I agree with this hot take. It is
Are hot takes out of style?
I felt like they were. I feel like people were like, let's stop with the hot takes.
Actually, I agree. Whether they are, I agree now. My hot take, I agree.
Stop hot takes. I think Earth and Blood is fantastic on its own.
Mm-hmm.
If you take out the Asteri factor at the end, I think it was sufficient.
Yeah.
If you have to have Sky and Breath and Flame and Shadow, it has to be more than the 2 books that were given. Because I think, like we say in episode 15, she just was trying to do too much.
Yeah.
And she sacrifices really important things like female character development, like understanding Bryce's journey.
I really love this idea of making Crescent City a standalone, and I'm almost wondering if it should have been Crescent City 1 standalone, Silver Flames, and then we got a new three Crescent City arc happening, with the first book of that one being Sky and Breath.
Isn't that what happened, though?
Yes, but I think that wasn't how it was handled mentally.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So, yes. Did I just say the thing that happened? Uh-huh. But do we see how it could have been improved upon if that was the mentality? I mean, like, treat it like a standalone and then start it up again as, like, here's the new 3-part series, because then that would have opened it up.
Yeah. I mean, here's my feeling. There are 4 houses.
Yeah.
The fourth house should have been a 4th book and spread Sky and Breath and Flame and Shadow into 3 books instead of just the 2. And then if you're going to expand on the Crescent City world, there's so many different options. You can name it after the neighborhoods. You can, like
the neighborhoods,
the gates. Like there's so many other options. Naming options.
I was like, Main and Fourth. Like, what are you?
No, 5 Roses, Fyro, Moonwood,
Ventura. This is from Leah. In line with the writing we got, do you think that Bryce's dad would have continued trying to reconcile if she hadn't made the drop and become stronger than him?
This is a good question.
We got some really good questions today.
What is the motivation for... So is the question like reconciliation about wanting to actually have a relationship or about wanting to utilize her, which is what the Autumn King ultimately wants?
So do we answer this with a Crescent City 1 mind, or do we answer this knowing that he ends up being a bad guy? Because in my Crescent City 1 mind, before I accepted the truth and that he's actually like a really horrible, abusive piece of shit, he does go to see her before she makes the drop.
Mm-hmm.
And he does kind of warn her a little bit away. And he does tell Rune to kind of keep an eye out for Bryce, right?
Yeah.
And I'm really going to come back to this one of the emails from a listener from forever ago. And they kind of like, they didn't like call me out personally, but they did. And it was just kind of saying like, SJM wrote a great character of someone who's abusive, and they are just abusive, right? It doesn't mean they might have these good qualities. They might have these good moments. There might be a moment of like, oh, I guess I kind of care about you. They're an abusive character. They can have really good qualities, but at the end of the day, they're still an abusive person or parent, or partner. And I always get weird now playing the like what if game, because what if this was SJM's point all along,
Yeah, so, well, let's start off with what we do know. If we're only looking at Crescent City 1, in the context of time. So,
yeah,
we as readers, having read the rest of the series, know that prior to the drop, the Autumn King abused Rune.
Yeah.
He was
And we don't know
physically.
we don't know the degree, but yes, we do know that.
But let's say what we know about the time period leading up to the drop.
Okay. Yeah.
We know for certain he was abusive to Rune. And that Rune's power was like within a decimal of the Autumn King's power. Now, if that's how he treats his full-blooded Fae son, but he's willing to maybe be a little more gentle, for lack of a better word, with his half-human daughter, if Bryce never makes the drop, is mortal, has no power, never reveals her starlight, never the discovery that the horn is in her back never takes place, she is of no use to him. Therefore, it would make sense for him to treat her differently compared to Rune.
Yeah.
Because Rune can be utilized and needs to be controlled. Otherwise, he can take the throne.
Absolutely. And I'll keep coming back to another moment in the book where the Autumn King, once he got the news that the Oracle didn't really give Bryce anything, he just threw her out of the house.
Right.
So, reconciliation, I think there's a point where there is such thing as reconciliation, and then there's a point where they've gone too far and they can try to make amends, but they're past the point of reconciliation.
Yeah, I agree too. And reconciliation assumes the Autumn King is capable of relationships.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's the case because he inherently sees value in everything or its lack of value.
Yeah.
This is from Danny. Love the podcast. It has definitely made me a more insightful reader, especially with SJM and the meaning behind names. I don't know if you've discussed this on Patreon, but you haven't mentioned the fact that the River Queen's daughter literally has no name. She's only referred to as the River Queen's daughter, and considering how obsessed SJM is with names and their significance, I think that is important, especially when she's been discussed as having a humanoid form, but nothing beyond that has been revealed about her powers. We've really only seen her through Therion's biased point of view, eye roll, which means we have dismissed her from the larger narrative. I think this will be significant in Crescent City 4 or maybe the next ACOTAR when her name is revealed and she becomes a bigger player. Love this point, Danny. We, I think, brought this up in the podcast after you posted this.
Which means she figured that out before we did.
You figured it out before we did, that's for sure. But you know what your comment just made me think about is the fact that in A Court of Thorns and Roses, we talked about the fact that Feyre is given no surname. Only the secondary characters have surnames. And it's not until the second book that we learn her surname, because to know it earlier on would have kind of given her path away.
It's kind of like an opposite effect then from Crescent City and is that where you were going with this? Did I just jump on your
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
You read my mind. It's okay.
Half brains forever. Now I feel bad. So this is Amy's thought. I mean, if you think about it, you have Bryce, Quinlan, Hunt, Athalar, Rune, Dan, and Crown Prince of the Valbaran Fae. You have so many titles versus ACOTAR, where it's what's Rhys's name? Last name? I don't know. Knight? Darling?
Well, I think my point is the name is hidden for a reason. Because to reveal it too soon would be to give too much away. I think there's a reason why we don't know Rhys-Anne's last name.
Yeah.
I think there's a reason why we know Lucian's last name, but not Tamlin's.
Yeah.
Right? And I think the same goes for the River Queen's daughter. And on one hand, it is about Therion being biased, but I suspect she will continue to be part of the narrative. And therefore, when we do learn her name, it will have significance.
Yeah. And from our Patreon live chat, Alexa says also that Feyre's mom doesn't have a first name and we still haven't found out Rhys's last name.
That's right.
Feyre's mom's name is going to be one of those things that will haunt us until SJM reveals it. And it's I would bet money that she had no idea what she was going to be, but now that she's built up so much lore, she's going to be and you're from Throne of Glass and you're from this, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think SJM had a plan for Feyre's mother. I think the plan developed over time, if there is a plan based on all the connections she's making.
Yeah.
And, I'm sure fan theories help too. But I also wonder if the mother was never given a name in A Court of Thorns and Roses because it's from Feyre's point of view and Feyre has no respect for her mother.
Truth. In that case, Maria.
Poor Maria.
No, I have respect.
Oh, okay.
The opposite.
Okay.
I'm giving her so much respect. Felt wrong saying it, though. When I first finished House of Earth and Blood before reading Sky and Breath, I made a list of my unanswered questions. At the end of HOSAB, on my first read, I thought it was so good. And then I went back and realized that not a single question left from the first book was answered. And HOSAB created a bunch more. Your analysis so far has been spot on in unraveling the threads and realizing she just did too much and had too much happening without resolving a single thing. The reveal at the end is amazing, but the book as a whole takes 800 pages to do nothing. LOL. Loving the season.
Wow. Snaps, because that was a great summary.
I feel like I need to start doing that now with fantasy books. Like, that's such a smart thing to do.
Yeah. Well, and I think I really struggle going from book to book if I'm not binging an entire series.
Yeah.
Because you forget the questions that you had or the important characters that aren't the main characters.
And you're just so excited to have the book finally in your hands. You're like, I've been waiting so long. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I reread Silver Flames, I have to write a bunch of questions down before we go to the next ACOTAR book.
I mean, we should do that with every analysis as we go into Throne of Glass,
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, what are the questions that are unanswered here and how do they carry on? And those are hard because, like, you want to, as an author, leave some of the spice, some of the mystery. But, it was Kate Golden who said something interesting one time when we were talking to her just about, like, her journey and everything. And I think this was, like, at dinner and not on the recording. But she said something along the lines of every first book of a fantasy series is written as if it's a standalone. Yeah. Because that's what publishers and agents recommend. Make it so that you still want to have something at the end. So think of not Throne of Glass. Think of ACOTAR, right?
Yeah.
She walks away with a happy ending, but there are questions. So it's like a really tight balance and a really hard balance of, oh, this is interesting. And I want to keep, answering some of these, but you also kind of have to have that first book tight, answered in a way.
Yeah. It's so funny you say that because when Kate said that, I think it was at dinner, I immediately thought of Thorns and Roses and of Earth and Blood. Both of those are so tight, and I think they're the best examples of her writing thus far. Yeah. Of Sarah J. Maas's writing thus far. And, Thorns and Roses continues to Mist and Fury, which is fabulous. Yes. But Earth and Blood continues to Sky and Breath, which we have thoughts on, obviously. Yeah. So I do think that there's something magic about the first book, and it has to be that tight and has to be capable of being a standalone. Because its success is necessary for an author to get a deal for a sequel.
And I think it's just necessary for an audience to not walk away being like, well,
that was a waste of my time.
Yeah, like what? So everything is just unanswered. You know what I mean? Like, so what? This just is going to end like this. And I think sometimes it's good that's what the second book is for, Yep. That's what the second book punch is, it's hard. It's hard. No, I'm worried about writing.
I know. I mean, that's why I'm not revising my fantasy novel right now is because it's not it is not a complete standalone. Yeah. And there are too many questions at the end that you're left unsatisfied. So that's why that one's on the back burner until I can figure it out.
Me just questioning my life. All right. Let's move on to the next one. Someone says, Leah, another one. Oh, wait, Leah got some good ones in here. I took notes during an episode. Do you think Rune became less scared of his father? I think he became more scared of Bryce.
That's fair.
I kind of.
I actually don't think Rune has grown less scared of his father. I think his love for Bryce has grown. And his love for Bryce has grown so much so that it outweighs his fear for his father.
Damn. I felt warm and fuzzy with that.
Oh,
I felt...
I did too.
No notes. That was great. Same. Ditto. I think, the beautiful part of Flame and Shadow is that at the very end, he is able to confront his father by killing him. And that's the way that we all should know. No, we don't recommend that at all. No patricide here. But it is definitely, it's one of those things where I agree that his love for Bryce grew. His fear of his father will not end until he kills him.
Yeah, and I think that we should put a spoiler warning at the top of this.
If they've listened to this whole... No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, I think that what we see happen in Flame and Shadow, if you really think about it, I feel like it is the third in a sequence of Rune overcoming fear or choosing courage over fear. So let's think about the dungeon and his hand.
Yeah.
Like that was a big sacrifice. Stupid, unnecessary, but a sacrifice.
Yeah.
That took courage.
Took something.
And stupidity.
Yeah.
Choosing to accept Lydia took courage for him. Again, to overcome his stupidity, but courage nonetheless. And last but not least, courage to confront his father.
Yeah.
I think it's a power of three situation for Rune. I think we see a lot of growth from him in the next book.
Absolutely.
This is from Jess. Hi, Jack and Amy. You have both added so much depth to my experience as a reader with the pod. When I first started listening to your ACOTAR analyses, I was completely blown away by how much I had missed when reading the series on my own. Truly, I'm a big fan of your work and your stellar personalities too. Oh, thank you.
End email. That's like
done. No, we've got more. We got three more paragraphs.
That's awesome.
I've been following along with your HOSAB analysis and had a thought regarding a possible explanation for Bryce's more frequent lying in this book. A few times throughout the episodes, you've discussed the possibility Bryce feels competitive with Danica, specifically towards the beginning of the book when more of Danica's lies are uncovered and Bryce starts getting more involved with the rebels. I definitely think that could be the case, but I always saw Bryce as more trying to embody or become Danica rather than trying to compete with her. Despite Danica hiding things from Bryce and the other ways Danica was not a good friend to her, Bryce doesn't seem to see it that way and still sees Danica as the person she was closest to. Because of Bryce's idolization of Danica compounded with the knowledge of Danica's involvement with the rebels, I believe Bryce starts to embody Danica as she attempts to navigate being thrown into the rebellion herself. To me, this is potentially a large contributing factor as to why Bryce begins keeping more and more secrets in Sky and Breath. Danica was someone she loved, trusted, and looked up to. And if Danica kept secrets while in a similar position to the one Bryce is in now, then maybe Bryce should start keeping secrets too. In doing this, Bryce is also then able to justify Danica keeping so much from her as well. Because if Bryce is able to lie to and keep important information from the people she loves, then in Bryce's mind, it would mean that Danica might still have been able to love Bryce despite keeping so much from her at the same time.
Wow.
I have goosebumps.
Yeah.
Wow,
No
Jess.
I know.
Slow clap. Wow. I should get some sound effects up in here because that was fantastic.
I feel like this isn't me disagreeing with them. This is me like justifying why we don't need to re-record the whole season. It's a matter of interpretation, right? And it's like, all up to, how you want to look at it. I agree with Jess. Like that's my interpretation now. I still think there are elements of Bryce competing with Danica. And I think that is a natural competition that comes with not knowing yourself. I think that comes naturally when you're trying to find a place in your world. I think that's something that happens when you're just confused and you compare it. Like competition doesn't have to be a negative thing. I think it can be as easy as all my friends are in relationships and I'm not. people online are having babies and I'm not. You know what I mean? It could be as simple as everyone's gotten a promotion and I'm still in school. It could be literally anything. And I don't think that means bad competition. I think that just is a natural thing that we do. And I can see her trying to become Danica, but I can also see this like very human part of us in there too.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I want to add to Jess's theory here because I really feel that Jess's theory really resonated with me. And the reason for that is because we talk a lot about Hunt channeling Bryce.
Yeah.
So it would make sense for if Bryce is channeling Danica, for Hunt to fill the void by channeling Bryce, because there's a Bryce-shaped hole in the dynamic.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I also agree because at the start of the novel, Bryce was wearing Danica's leather jacket quite often, again, signaling her channeling Danica. So it makes sense that the channeling of Danica is no longer represented in the leather jacket. It is now represented in the lying and the secret keeping and the road activity. So I love it. I think it's fantastic.
And now a word from our sponsors. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp.
The best lesson I've ever learned in life is to remember to thank myself. And sometimes that's thanking my lungs for breathing when I'm on a hike. Sometimes that's thanking my feet for walking when they hurt. And I think this is the perfect time of year to learn to thank ourselves more.
Do you know who reminds me to thank myself and be kind to myself the most? My therapist. Shout out to them. I've been going to therapy for almost 10 years now. And one of the best feelings is having your therapist say, wow, you've really done the work.
And it might take 10 years to get there. I would say my journey is very similar, but it's worth that effort to reach moments like this, where you do feel like you've achieved something.
Starting therapy has never been easier with BetterHelp. BetterHelp is entirely online and it's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule.
Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist. And you know what? If that first therapist doesn't work for you, switching therapists at any time costs nothing.
So let the gratitude flow with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/booktalk, BOOKTOK, today to get 10% off your first month.
That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/booktalk, BOOKTOK. I cannot believe it is the time of year to start thinking about gift buying. And I have too many brothers for this to be an easy thing for me to do.
You really do have a lot of brothers.
I do.
Luckily, Manscaped has made that very easy with their Chairman Pro package. It's the ultimate set of tools that brings the luxury of a professional shave right to his bathroom. Quick funny story. I once had an ex-boyfriend who prepared me that if we were to get married, I'd have to shave his back. And one of my biggest fears of shaving his back wasn't the idea of shaving his back. It was the fear of cutting him and hurting him by shaving his back. Had I known that something like Manscaped's Chairman Pro package existed, maybe we'd still be together today.
I think he would have appreciated all your efforts, but more your effort with the Chairman Pro package, because it not only includes the Chairman Pro electric foil shaver, but also the Power Shave Gel and the Face Shave Soother.
Men have all the best toys.
Toys or tools?
Why can't they be the same? The beauty of this electric foil shaver is that it reduces the risk of ingrown hairs and, most importantly, reduces the risk of grooming accidents, which, again, my number one fear.
So if you want to give him a gift that he'll love and use every day, the Chairman Pro package from Manscaped is the perfect choice. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code BOOKTALK, BOOKTALK, at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code BOOKTALK, BOOKTALK, at manscaped.com. manscaped.com.
Move your career further, faster in just 2 days with a Harvard Professional and Executive Development Program. Advance your leadership skills, craft smarter business strategies, build your network, and transform how you work and think to keep your career moving forward. You'll earn a certificate and can add Harvard to your resume with Harvard Professional and Executive Development. Learn more at professional.dce.harvard.edu/Spotify.
With Uber Reserve, good things come to those who plan ahead. Family vacay? Reserve your ride as soon as you book your flights. To all the planners, now you can reserve your Uber ride up to 90 days in advance. See Uber app for details.
This comes from Sav. I liked Sophie's plotline and was so disappointed with how it turned out. Although I appreciate that Cormac died. Great side character death.
Jack does not agree. I agree.
I was having a conversation in my head with myself and I agree.
You're struggling.
I agree. You know what's funny is like I've never really been a fan of the Sophie plotline.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I don't think I am still.
Why is that?
I don't know. I'm going to figure it out. There is something about it that like really, I think I just never was fully sold on everyone getting so gung-ho on someone that they never met before.
Mm-hmm.
I think her story is interesting. I think that, she went in, undercover for years just to get into one room, just to get her brother out. Like, Sophie is a very interesting character. I'm not going to say that she sucks or anything like that, but I just never bought into the fact. And I know there's a lot more factors to it. There's a meal, there's a kid. What are we going to do? We got to protect him.
Mm-hmm.
It's like even all the way to the very end when Rune yells at Lydia, "You killed Sophie. You didn't know her."
Yeah.
She might have sucked. I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
I doubt she did. I'm sure she was lovely, but like, I think the Sophie line just was always never personally grabbed me.
Well, and to your point about Rune, Sophie hated Vanir.
Yeah.
She wouldn't have cared about Rune. Yeah, it starts out as Sophie had intel that we need to get, and then all of a sudden it translates to, "You killed Sophie, how could you?"
Yeah. And I know it's like Bryce seeing herself in Sophie, and it's like, I get her overly attaching herself to this character, but the lengths that people went for, the amount of, Sophie's body, what are we, what about Sophie? Where is Sophie?
Yeah.
And I get it from Cormac, and maybe I would have understood it more if they let Cormac into the circle more.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. But they hardly let him in.
No, yeah, they never let him in.
Well, quite frankly, there wasn't enough space in the novel.
And that's upsetting. I talk about another person that we could have had more time with, and then that death would have hurt more.
We should have had more time with Cormac and less time with Ethan.
Everything is less time with Ethan.
Everything is less time with Ethan.
The answer will always come to less time with Ethan. Another comment from our live stream. That was Rune grasping for straws for something to be mad about at Lydia about without thinking about how attracted he was to her.
That's also a good point.
No, I mean, and I see that. I see where it's like, and you cut me in line when I was on the way to the grocery store. Like he's going to be pulling at anything.
Yeah.
But it's still like, the countless lives thing, that's Sophie just never was it for me.
Yeah. Well,
it's a
fair.
bold choice to start a book off with someone that you've never met and kill them off completely. And it just is one that didn't really resonate for me personally.
I don't think, for me, I think the killing her off, I think the way Sophie was utilized for Sophie and Cormac worked.
Yeah.
It didn't work as a through line for the rest of the group, if that makes sense.
Yes, I think it does. This one is from Liv. Book was a mess. SJM relied on the shock factor of the ending and then didn't deliver. Fan theories inspired by HOSAB ending were better than what SJM gave us.
So that's a mix of HOSAB and Sky and Breath and Flame and Shadow. But I agree. I mean, some people will agree, some people will not agree. I'm going to reserve my judgment for Flame and Shadow for when we actually analyze it.
Fair.
But having now analyzed Sky and Breath, I do not think it was as well written as some of her other books have been.
Yeah. It was a solid ending. It was an interesting beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a wild path getting there.
A little janky in the middle.
Yeah. It is funny because, like, you do walk away with that shock factor. And that's what we talked about throughout the season was, like, is this book just, like, good because it's the shock factor? Because I went into this being like, this is one of my favorite books.
You did.
And I know.
And I was like, are you sure?
And I said, no, I wasn't. So, I know not to die on these hills anymore. But it really is an example of when SJM busts it out, when she has something to focus on, because those last few chapters were in 3 point of views. Hunt's, Rune, Bryce. And whose point of views were in book 1? Hunt's, Rune, Bryce. You didn't have a bunch of extra point of views. Maybe you got a hint of Therian, but then he was gone. So the tightest parts of this book at the very end with this action sequence, with them saying goodbye, with Bryce going into Prithian, those were some of the absolute tightest parts of the entire book because she was dealing with just a few characters. And it just goes to show where it's like, okay, you are capable of this. And I am very curious about when we get into Throne of Glass because she has a bajillion characters and storylines.
Yeah, I mean, the first 3 books start narrow.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 to 3. And then it does expand after the first 3 books.
But it takes 3 books to go there, not from it felt like 0 to 60 with HOSAB.
Oh, absolutely. She needed more time. I mean, the whole, if you're going to write 3 books, keep it to 3 points of view.
Yeah.
Like, it just shouldn't be more than that because otherwise you don't get enough time with these characters you told us to love in book 1.
Yes. And you're telling me to love these other characters when I'm just busy being mad that they're in my way.
They're taking up space. Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah. It's it will be interesting to get into it because she definitely eased herself into multiple point of views with Throne of Glass. And the entire time when I was when we were going through this season with HOSAB, I kept thinking like she is capable of it. She like where's the disconnect? Why is this so much harder? And I mean, but I think you called it earlier on the season where you're speculating that she just like didn't want to enter another behemoth that is Throne of Glass when she had plenty of stuff for it and just wanted to get to the Prithian part of everything.
Yep.
Let's pretend we're best-selling authors. We both have fantasy books out there. I want to know the theories and I want to see if like they're better than mine.
Yeah. Oh, I said for years. So Deathly Hallows, J.K. Rowling, there was so much fan fiction out there before the 6th book came out, before the 7th book came out. So when Deathly Hallows came out and I read the Snape and Lily Potter storyline, I was like, I've read this in at least 2 other fan fictions.
Oh.
I was like, I was shocked
because
I
we
was
didn't
like,
know anything about him being in love with his mom.
No, but I definitely saw it in multiple fan fictions prior to Deathly and Hallows coming out because I was deep in that fan fiction universe.
Yeah, you were.
And I read a lot of Snape fan fiction. So, what does that say about me? I don't know.
You got it tight because the other one you like is
Draco
Kylo.
Malfoy.
Oh,
or
I was gonna
Kylo,
say
yeah.
Kylo.
But when it comes to women, I don't discriminate.
No, you're equal opportunist.
That's right.
I will say though that I think there is something to say about listening to what the fans think. I think at one point you have so much lore, you put so much detail into something, and it's okay if your brain just kind of breaks. It's okay if you tap into a little bit of something.
Yeah. This message is from Catherine. It's been a bit since I listened to this episode and I haven't caught up yet. So apologies if you've touched on this since episode 8. When y'all were talking about the astronomer's mystics, I remember you mentioning your surprise regarding the dual-sexed mystic and discussing whether or not it was just there for shock. While I don't necessarily disagree with your conclusion, it seemed like a huge alchemy reference to me, and I thought it'd be some nice food for thought. In Alchemy, the rebus, aka the divine hermaphrodite, is seen as the magnum opus of the field and what alchemists strove to achieve with their craft. I think SJM's description of the three mystics as quote-unquote perfect balance is what clued me into the reference and made me think it was intentional. The rebus is considered to be the patron of purification, putrefaction, and balance, and is only achieved by separating the opposing qualities within a human and uniting them again into a perfect being. Some scholars considered it to be a child of Venus and Mercury, while others say it's a child of the Red King and the White Queen, who symbolize the sun and moon, respectively. There's also some cool numerology and more celestial symbolism in there, which fits in with the themes you've been discussing this season. I'd love to hear y'all's thoughts. I'm knee-deep in pharmacy school right now. Oh, good luck!
I think unanimously, our all of our listeners are smarter than us. Like, I think that's just
absolutely
facts. Yeah,
absolutely.
That's 100% what SJM was referring to.
Yeah,
like there's no doubt in my mind. Like,
yeah, because SJM reads up on this kind of stuff. She's very intentional.
Yeah.
The rebus is often also portrayed with the number 4 and 3 on each of its sides, which together make 7, the number of completion.
I don't want to anymore. I mean, why did we doubt SJM? Like, of course she's a genius.
Yeah.
And so is our listener. Who,
yeah.
What's her name again? The one who?
Catherine.
Is this what they teach in pharmacy school?
I mean, I guess pharmacy is like alchemy, is it not?
It is not.
Okay, never mind. There's also something about like circles being linked to the divine and squares and triangles, and across it is the symbol of alchemical. I can't speak. Salt. There is a salt reference in here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So
the dual sex.
Yeah. Okay, so at least that one we know where it comes from. I still want to know why SJM does reference perfect balance throughout the book with different examples.
Mm-hmm.
And I go back to like one of the ones where hypaxia is like, male, female, perfect, like the perfect balance and stuff. So this is beyond our pay grade, seeing as we're not being paid. Or we are, but not survivable. We're keeping things afloat. We're not quitting our jobs anytime soon. No.
I mean, based on this alchemy reference, I wouldn't be surprised if it's another alchemy reference.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe we put this is me talking to SJM. Maybe we do like an appendix at the end of the book with explanations.
Yeah. Or just like a reader's guide to history and concepts you need to know before reading this book.
Authors will have like a playlist of like, here are the songs that got me through, or that I think I reference. I need that, but with her historical and mythological and alchemical references.
Yeah, I agree. And, this, I think all stems from the fact she was a history major.
Yeah.
This is in the realm of alternative religions, which is part of history.
Do we go get a history minor?
Well, now I'm like,
what we do?
Emma was a history major in undergrad. I just need to be
was?
using her brain. I know.
What is she doing?
I don't know.
Get her in here. Start spewing history to us. I think we just listen to, I listen to Unruly, which goes into the like all the British monarchs pre Queen Elizabeth. It's a very interesting book, very funny. I enjoyed it a lot. I should like be more inspired. I don't know.
Yeah.
rather than kind of being like, oh, that's interesting. Like just steal
Take
from
notes.
history. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
This one is from Kenny. You can't convince me that Lydia's ring isn't Rowan's ring.
Wait, is it Rowan's ring? Is it the ring Rowan gives Aelin? Or is it Aelin's ring
At
that
the end of
she
the day, isn't
had?
it always Aelin's ring?
It's always Aelin's ring. I think we're confirmed it's Aelin's ring, but I don't know if it's Rowan's ring.
Aelin's ring or from her father's ring. Let us read Throne of Glass season.
Yeah,
That's a great little let us get to that and we'll circle back. We did this all by design. we got to this point so that we can go back and reference things. That's what we did.
Yep. We read this comment and we're like, let's go do Throne of Glass.
Okay, so this one is from Madeline. Hunt is my precious baby boy. And Bryce is the female main character I always needed. Team sexy confidence.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, but let's talk
Agree.
about that though. Because 100% agree. And I remember midway through the season, we got an email from someone who said, like, you're being a little hard on Bryce, which we were, I agree. Do we have sexy confident Bryce in HOSAB 2 or HOSAB in HOSAB? And what is sexy confident Bryce? Because Bryce was sexy and confident in book 1, but she also like didn't have a will to live.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate. Like there's a lot of things. I mean, but that's like what I don't want to say that her lack of not wanting to live attributed to her sexy confidence. Like that's not the case. I think she is a very sexy, confident character.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that about her. I wasn't necessarily like feeling like that's who we had in the second book. Granted, by the end of the book, that's definitely not who we had, but that's what you need in order to have character growth. You know what I mean? Because she needs to go away from that sexy confidence because it's almost naive in a way. And then by the end of it, that like is kind of stripped away so that in book 3, she can gain that, gain that again. So maybe this is me talking myself in a giant circle here. Yes, the reason why I'm kind of wavering on that is because SJM is taking us on a slow decline of lack of sexy confidence because that's just the nature of character development and story arcs.
Yeah, I think to your point, in Earth and Blood, Bryce was sexy confident throughout because she knows her worth, regardless of how she's treated and how she feels and how much she misses Danica. Yeah, she knows her worth. I think we start Sky and Breath with Bryce being that sexy confident. Think about the early sex scenes with Hunt. Like,
even the way that she starts off the book, like at the gala, with her mom and everything. And
so I think, I don't know that I would say she loses sexy confidence, but I think she might say the sexy confidence is not her primary mode or persona once we get to a certain point in the book.
Yeah.
But maybe I do. I don't know. I can see what you're saying. I can see what I can see it all.
Well, here we go. We can keep working on this. So her sexy confidence was a weapon, and that weapon became void somewhere through HOSAB.
Yep.
Then it was her trying to figure out what's her next weapon. So I don't think that she necessarily like Bryce is Bryce. You know what I mean? Like she is going to be that sexy, confident person. But what happens when that doesn't help you? And what happens when consequences to your actions, to your choices start to catch up? Because you can't end this book with sexy, confident Bryce. The book ends with an absolutely destroyed, her choices led to some really horrible consequences. Now I'm having to leave my brother and my mate behind.
Yeah.
That's not a sexy, confident person. Now, by the time she leaves Prithian and she gets her powers back and then, she goes to her dad's and, Uno reverses him, we're back to sexy confidence. But like, again, that's like the nature of character arcs.
Yeah, no, I think you're completely right. To continue again, what you were saying, I think we see her lose the sexy confidence when it doesn't work when they go to the Bone Quarter. Because she did try to use it. It didn't work.
She changed outfits.
She changed outfits. She had to use the Star Sword. And that's when we start to see a change in her.
Yeah.
And like you said, it can't be her primary weapon anymore. She gains the sexy confidence back when she has a full arsenal of weapons.
Yeah.
Which the sexy confidence supplements. Because she's hot when she's queen.
Yeah.
But she's got more than sexy confidence to keep her, to achieve her queenliness.
I wonder if book 1 sexy confidence, it's the weight of just her own choices in her own life. And what makes her sexy confidence come back and what makes it even harder is that queenliness. And you can't get queenliness without the responsibility of others on your shoulders.
Yeah.
And understanding just how much your action impacts others. Book 1 was, I'm going to get drunk. I'm going to go party. I'm going to be sober. I'm going to fuck this lion shifter in the bathroom. That's all she was really worried about, you know? And then suddenly here you are, or here she is, like, dealing with, is she going to be queen or not? You know, like what does that mean for her? So yeah, like it never goes away, but it definitely evolves. And I personally think that you don't get the exact same sexy confidence of book 1 again, because that's just, that Bryce will never be back. Like,
that Bryce doesn't exist.
No. Yeah, she changes too much. But that doesn't mean to say, like, that doesn't mean though that you can't, that she's not still a confident, sexy character. It's just going to be different, and you have to have a little death in there somewhere.
Yeah, great job.
Great job, you.
One last comment from Amber, who said, I just want to thank you guys so much. You've made me laugh and find the love of reading again in tangent with SJM. I'm so excited to go back and reread the ACOTAR series with your analysis in mind. You've also, through spoilers, convinced me to read the rest of the SJM multiverse next instead of moving on. So thank you guys for the laughs.
Yay, spoilers.
Yeah. Sometimes they do good.
Very rarely. But happy that it happened. Yeah. That's so nice. Thank you, Amber.
Yes, thank you, Amber.
I appreciate that. I love getting comments and reading people's messages or comments saying that it makes them a better reader, or not. I don't want to say better reader, because it's like, we weren't bad readers to begin with. I'd just say a different type of reader, because I like to compare this as wearing glasses versus not wearing glasses, because there's been books that we've read, like Cruel Prince. We did it for book club. I talked about how it took me 3 times to read that book and I wasn't into it. And then I read it with intent and suddenly I'm blown away with it. So I hope that, I love the idea that, you know, getting these reading glasses, reading with intent gives you a different perspective on something, because, you know, it brings extra, makes the world just extra magical.
Yeah, I completely agree. You want me to say something?
No. Yeah, I love that you agree. You know, that's awesome. Thank you for listening to this special episode of Book Talk for Book Talk with Jack and Amy. We encourage you to rate and subscribe to our show on your preferred podcast listening platform. Stay tuned for our special drunk episode this Thursday.
We would love to hear your thoughts based on today's conversation. If you would like to submit your thoughts on Sky and Breath or any other books we've discussed on the podcast, please be sure to follow us on Instagram, where we ask for listener thoughts and submissions.
If you're enjoying the podcast, please visit our website, booktalkforbooktalk.com, to view our latest merch and learn about supporting the show through Patreon or Venmo. You can also follow us on TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube at the handle Book Talk for Book Talk. Bye. Thank you for listening to part 1 of this week's episode of Book Talk for Book Talk with Jack.
Wait. Refresh it. Close it and open it again.
Okay.
Sorry, you were on such a roll. You sounded so great.
We'll never have this moment again.
I want you to know that like this yesterday's or today, I guess it went live today, our buys were synchronized and I didn't have to adjust it.
Oh, amazing.
I think we just automatically know the pacing of it.
Yeah.
So even though it may not sound synchronized here,
we
it
know the
sounds
pacing
synchronized here.
There is a certain pause.
Yeah.
And then we say bye.
Bye. It's like we kind of have to like not look at each other and just feel the bye.
Yeah, we just have to feel the bye.
Feel the bye.
I feel the bye all the time.
You feel the bye constantly.